Nate Catgirls on the left, Cabal on the right. We'll have to see how these picks and bans come through to see what the prioritization is for both of these teams.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how these bans do come through, and as we do see the first ban come out there, I think we're going to be seeing some short-range bans comes through immediately. Lash eliminated, which is fairly understandable. I've watched a bit of hydration gameplay when it comes down to I watched him in some of the VODs that were going on, and he looked like an excellent Lash player, so seeing Lash taken out makes total sense to me, at least.
Yeah, Lash, one of the more dominant picks, especially you can group up, you can have the lane dominance, a lot of combo potential, and then Bebop Band on the other side, one of the I think the only character in the game at the moment with hit scan potential, and of course that hook can be devastating when you're in a team environment, you just get shredded. But of course, what does that leave open? Shiv, first picked by Catgirl and friends on that side. One of the highest potential characters in the game in terms of just raw damage output, but also one that has the potential to struggle from behind, right? Not necessarily like you want to be in there in the fight. If you get behind in souls, not the easiest character to play. Of course, that's going to lead right into a top 2 pick. On the other side, they grab a support and an engager on the top 2.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, really. We're going to be looking forward to seeing what their response is going to be. And yeah, no, Dynamo, that makes sense, goes ahead. He's going to be able to go ahead and play a heavy support role for his team when it comes to good AOE healing there mid-fight, so it makes a lot of sense. And of course, now coming up as well, a bit of a Vindicta. It's going to be an interesting pick as well. That long-range sniper fire is going to be so helpful when it comes to the early laning phase as well, just able to go ahead and find themselves a lot of souls there immediately. So hopefully it'll be a good pair-up in between her and another character, and Lady Geist in response.
Yeah, last game we did name the MVP as Penne on that Vindicta, hitting quite a few snipes, a cool quick scope there in one of the kills early on in the lane, and a lot of last hits coming through to get the souls on that character's passive. And you add in the Dynamos you mentioned, the Wraith picked through here as well. A lot of single target damage coming through, paired with a big ultimate from Dynamo. I'd be interested to see if maybe they can grab themselves something like a Kelvin later on in the draft here to pair together and get a little bit more of that AoE. Viscous is also a solid pick on that side. On the other side, Mo and Curl comes through, bit of a closer range pick. So now you have, look at those 3-4 picks now, wow, that are just in the backline wanting to play a little bit closer range. Abrams and Mo and Curl, Lady Geist, and Furnace all want to be right up in your face. That is an interesting draft style from the Cabal.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's going to be like what you're saying. It's going to be in their face. They're going to need to be rather careful. I think that we could see Vindicta counter that to a degree, just due to the fact that she has such long-range potentiality to go ahead and get early damage off and force them back in certain situations. So hopefully that plus the McGinnis are going to be the two things that really help the side of Catgirl and friends out. But, of course, the Cabal, they're going to have a bit of range of themselves, going to be able to go ahead and pick up great talent there at the end.
And they end out making sure that they have at least one thing that they can look to match that range from Vindicta. But potentially another thing that's going to be able to help out with the chaos that these 4 other picks are going to be causing, right? Maybe even 5 other picks. If you can get Infernus is going to be in the back line, diving there. He's going to have the lifesteal paired to an Ivy. You bring the invulnerability online. And all of this healing that's coming through, the Mach that goes untargetable underground, right? There's just so much potential chaos. And then on the other side, you pair it with someone who's sniping and is untouched, cool in the back line, just breezing through the air, just like getting all the free damage off. That's what you want to see if you're playing this comp for Cabal. Of course, on the other side, you have the exact same thing. You want this Vindicta to be untouched, calm, cool, and collective in the back line, making sure that they're able to get their damage off. I think this laning phase is going to be a big telling factor of how aggressive the Cabal intend to come out of the gate.
Interestingly, like you said, we saw some heavy gunfights looking to come out, and we're going to be seeing McGinnis and Vindicta looking to play alongside each other, along with these long-range characters are just kind of being joined by some other gunfighters when it comes down to it. So hopefully we'll see some heavy stuff come out here, but this should be a little bit difficult to begin with.
Denies coming through early on. 3 denies in a row, in fact, coming through from the Cabal. And so you can already see their focus on denying farm and how important that is with last hitting early on in this game. Getting a whole half of your farm based on, obviously half it coming from last hitting the minion, the other half coming from that soul orb. And you can't afford to just let those things float up. They will
No.
get stolen away from you, especially if a team is heavily focused on it. The Cabal, that is maybe how they got off to some of their more dominant leads early on in some of the other rounds. And even out of the gate, they're already, I mean, already a 1,000 soul lead less than 2 minutes in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still early days, so I do expect them to go ahead and maybe find a way to catch up. But look at this. We're seeing a bit of damage being done. Wraith putting up quite a bit, trying to see if he can pressure it down a little bit more. So far, not able to find anything just yet. But looks like he might be able to press that fight a little bit harder if he wants to in a moment. Vindicta's still going ahead, just poking.
On the other side, on that poke, right, Paradox actually was someone that got poked down very heavily. We saw an early rotation come through from McGinnis there, so that's really good team play coming through from Catgirls, making sure nobody falls too far behind. Taking a look at the health bars as well. It's Grey Talon falling low in that blue lane, maybe taking a little bit of poke. And it's on edge here. Who is going to find that first blood? Who is willing to commit first out of the gate? You might start to think it's going to be around some of these early item spikes. A lot of these characters are coming into that 1,000 soul mark.
Yeah, no, they're starting to get up there now. Of course, we do see Vindicta at 1.3. Has bought Headshot, but not anything else alongside of it just yet. I'm looking for him to buy a bit more. Oh, look at this. This could be the first pick coming through here.
Little bit of
Good damage with the Grey Talon.
Out.
Yeah, no, he gets out.
Forced to
For a
retreat
second
there.
Yeah, no. I thought for sure that was going to come through there once he was bounced up, but just not the case.
Yeah, not enough damage in the tank, just hiding behind the walls. And these lanes, I mean, you think about a traditional mobile lane and the differences that we see here, the complexities in a given lane, how many things can you stand behind, how many abilities go through those various walls and have area of effect damage as opposed to just line of sight damage. You start to think about how a different character functions as a 1v1, as a 2v2 in some of these lanes, and you also start to value health a lot more, right? Instead of backing in a traditional MOBA, you have to hop on the zip line and get all the way back to base until you can get that health bar to clean up, unless you have one of the actives that allows you to actively gain health in that lane. And so this poke that we see, I mean, we saw Grey Talon poke down a long time ago. She has stayed down, or he has stayed down at that low health bar for, I mean, 2-3 minutes at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really hard to get out of these situations because you know that if you do try and back up, there's a high likelihood someone's going to push to try and catch you off and stun you off the line as well. That's just such a threat coming into each of these retreats and each of these fights. And, ooh, good damage done there.
A little bit of damage from Viscous, as you mentioned, as the poke has been really good coming through from Walex on this Viscous. But, I mean, man, that's some good poke. There's a dive here around the tower.
Oh, here we
First blood from Naked, and they're not stopping. They're continuing the push.
There we go. First pick coming on through. Of course, they're going to look to maybe try and push off of that to get off some damage onto the Guardian. Doesn't look like it. Just going to go ahead, find that pick, back off, not necessarily wanting to overdo it. We did see Dynamo fall as well, so right now it's just trades back and forth. Either side really having superiority over the other into each of these lanes. But it looks like, at least for the time being, the Guardian here for Amber. Naked Catgirls is getting pressured down quite a bit, and Viscous is just incredibly low, 200 HP. He's going to have to buy something to go ahead and heal up here in a moment. He can't really afford to fight too much longer.
Got a lot of poke all in one moment. That's the benefit of those sniper characters. You can really be under a lot of pressure all in one foul swoop, depending on where you're standing on the map. But I mean, despite falling for first blood, it's actually Catgirl and friends that gets that first blood. Still a little bit behind in souls. It got answered back immediately. Paradox fell, as you mentioned. That was a win from Hydration on the Moen Krill. And of course, he's normally the Lash player, so he got targeted in this game and still able to come up with that solo kill over on the side. Meanwhile, another solo kill, Vegas, finding a win actually in a 2v2 lane and then picks up another kill for the Cabal.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we could start to see them pull away off the back of this. It doesn't look like they've been able to just yet. These Guardians still holding decently firm. I will say, just looking at the minimap right now, the side of the Cabal is handedly winning these HP pull fights, at least. We're seeing this side of Naked Catgirls losing quite a bit of health on each of them. Meanwhile, the Cabal, they're just keeping it at a decent health. No one really losing too terribly much. Barely down to even a 6 of their health.
Yeah, Paradox still remaining heavily poked out on that left-hand side, but fights happening across pretty much every lane at this point. Maybe trying to find something on an odd man fight as Viscous chasing down Grey Talon with the ultimate there, forces into the sky, but full HP for this sniper, so nothing will come of that dive. Meanwhile, a little bit of support on the left-hand side, and I have to imagine you're trying to find some of these last hits.
Ooh,
maybe
Viscous.
it'll be Viscous. Oh, great
there we go.
cube. Saves the life, and he's able to stay alive.
I thought for sure he was gone. Just able to go ahead, pop that ability to go ahead and back off. It's good luck. Bit of damage coming through as well. It wasn't able to connect up. I thought that sniper shot might have landed. Tagged down Lady Geist a bit more.
Yeah, a little bit of poke coming through and continuing. I mean, I think our players to watch for this matchup have to be the snipers, right? Regardless. Maybe you get some pop-offs from someone like Abrams, someone like Shiv, right? Depending on the state of the game. But the most consistent damage you're going to have on either side are these snipers. So it's a question of if you're hitting your shots, you can win fights almost by yourself. You can get last hits with Vindicta with both sides.
Oh, Abrams.
On the other side, if you're not hitting your shots, you can be a detriment to your team in some instances. So some damage gets traded out. The Owl comes through, not able to pick up the kill, but Vegas will grab the Guardian over there on the purple side.
And there we go. That's that initial win. Of course, they're going to look to try. They'll go ahead and retreat off of that. It looks like Grey Talon will hang around, just look to see if he can keep the lane at a good point, which is fair enough. Meanwhile, big trap coming through. Look at this. First fights.
Wow,
really
disarmed already. Push back a little bit. Yeah, he's able to get the last hit, but I'm not sure this one's
Ivy.
over. Low HP. Needs to get a little bit more, and it'll be Geist with the double kill. Able to take down and defend the Guardian.
I know, that's absolutely massive. That's going to be Guardian getting really pressured out now. 4 players on the lane. Should be dead here.
First Guardian to fall indeed. It will go down for the Cabal. Looks like they actually took down a Guardian on the other side. So that wasn't the first Guardian in the game. My mistake. Purple did fall before that. On the other side, Naked Catgirls able to take the one in orange. So a little bit of pressure on either side, but I mean, we're seeing this compared to some of the other matches that Cabal have played. Naked Catgirls are putting up quite the fight early on, despite being down, a couple thousand souls in these instances, and actually might not even get a chance. Abrams is in trouble.
Yeah, no, big pick there. Gonna be able to go ahead, find out that first kill. They're gonna look to try and pivot off for a little bit more. They're aware of the second player. They're going to look for that engagement, find the kill into the Molo Krill. That's hydration being eliminated. And they could be able to push on to the Guardian for that. Yeah, they certainly will. They're going to push this. They just want to go ahead, gain themselves a little bit of advantage, get that extra AP.
Yeah, 4 players here early on in the game. Still pre-10 minutes, so none of those objectives have spawned quite yet in this one. But, like I was saying, wow, actually, that soul lead is completely gone. I did not expect it to close that fast, but maybe just the volatility of the farm in this game. That was an 8,000 soul lead that we just saw disappear from the Cabal. But now it might go back away. Cabal continuing the fight. Geist takes down Irie as they will continue to push up that lane. And it's yet another grouping for the Cabal. And they're able to take down 2 and more fighting on orange.
Yeah, no, absolutely massive to come out there. Of course, we did see Vindicta find himself out. One guy still playing for it. We're going to play for this fight. We'll see a very quick kill onto McGinnis. But, of course, the trade coming back through. Vindicta able to go ahead and play the pressure. Found the sniper shot. Continues to fight. Sees Ivy. Think he's opted out of that for the time being. Doesn't necessarily want to overdo it. Meanwhile, we're going to see the first urn looking to be picked up.
Urn looking to be picked up. Guardian taken down as well on the purple side, so they'll even up the lane over there. And as we mentioned, the Urn spawn at 10 minutes, now just 20 seconds in. And this is, our first big objective, potentially, for this point. Not only do we have the mid-boss that spawned at the same time, maybe a little bit early to be considering that one, but that fight, if we are going to see a full-on team fight, oftentimes it comes around this soul urn. Right now it's Abrams that has that one in hand, so he won't be able to use any of those abilities while he's holding on to that soul urn. The question is, are Naked Catgirls and friends going to try and put up a fight and stop him from delivering this?
It doesn't really look like it. I mean, it's being guarded decently here as well. Hydration, just waiting on this moment. Krill. We do see Wraith making his way up to see if he can play for that engagement, but I think it's just too little, too late. He'll just go ahead, fall off that angle, sees Hydration, backs off immediately.
There was a little bit of pressure. Doesn't look like it will continue, though, as you mentioned. They'll get a little bit more in the soul category, and it's this bouncing lead back and forth, but the Cabal, they are the ones that are bouncing up and down. I'm not sure that we have seen any lead, even 1,000 or 2,000 come through from Catgirls and friends. But I mean, to be honest, even 5,000 souls or less, that lead to me almost feels like nothing at this stage of the game, because it really is going to depend on ability usage, where you're getting the damage, who's getting poked out before these fights. And to me, just in terms of raw damage output, it's still Cabal that's going to be favored around these, messy skirmishes in the middle of the lanes.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, at least for the time being. Of course, now we're going to be seeing, ooh, this is aggressive. They're going for it. They're playing for this fight. We're going to see Viscous go for his ult, able to get off a bit of damage there. Gets a little bit too far into the fight, though, is forced back. Of course, we do see a counter ult come through as well, but man, Hydration just incredibly low now. And we're seeing the picks come back through, though. They're able to find those kills regardless, even with these players getting as low as they did. And just like that, the Cabal gonna be able to go ahead and clean sweep that fight, taking the Guardian. Meanwhile, Naked Catgirls, they lose 3.
3 sent back to base there, and a great turnaround from the Cabal, using their resources perfectly. Damage where they need it, nobody getting too low. And all the while, they're still able to put some macro pressure on this side of the map. Of course, being matched on opposite sides. You have these walkers being pushed down. It was the Cabal on the purple lane, and now they're actually the ones getting chased out. Mo and Krill falls instantly, not able to get out of there. And on the other side, it's the first flex on the first walker taken down. Catgirls answer right back.
Yeah, no, able to go ahead and react to it rather briskly, seeing the kill along with the a quick walker elimination, and now it's just left down into a bit of a precarious situation for both these teams. I mean, neither one of them have huge advantages. I mean, like you said, the Cabal right now, at least, they've been able to do a lot to find themselves these kills and get themselves these Guardians and as well as the walkers, but for the most part, we're just seeing Naked Catgirls keep up with them to a degree, to say the least.
Wow. And I mean, to be honest, the last 5 kills, the last 10 kills, almost all of them are coming through in favor of the Cabal. You've seen a couple of picks, though, and this is maybe where Catgirls are trying to claw back into the game, are places where they have the group advantage, and they do not want to just sit down and take this lying down, because I think that they are doing a good job of still finding opportunities to answer back and punish maybe some over-aggressive plays from the Cabal. For instance, Abrams is over here completely alone. He's been Wraith ulted, finds himself in a corridor, and I think he is not long for this world unless this be a crazy turnaround. He's got his entire team who's come and rotated to the fight. They take down 3, and they're looking for more. Another one falls, sent back to base. And just like that, I think he's caught out, and his entire team joins him and turns it on its head.
Absolutely enormous. I mean, just like that, now the Cabal, they've got themselves a massive lead. They've been able to go ahead and put themselves up at 91,000 souls. Meanwhile, the Naked Catgirls stuck down at 68,000. Up to this point, we've seen this neck and neck. We've seen the Catgirls respond and answer back in great ways, but all of a sudden, it could be capitulating.
Not a spot where you want to be if you are the Catgirls. Of course, not as bad of a spot as you could be. We definitely still alive in this one, right? Have not crossed the finish line. All the objectives still available in this one, especially if they want to fight over mid-boss. A lot can change, especially in the chaotic world of how these fights are going. But, I mean, I have to look at the value that these respective players are getting, because I'm looking across the board and I'm seeing a lot of these deficits are on maybe some of the individual players. I'm looking at Paradox getting shut down early, right? A couple of those deaths have maybe prevented the Paradox player from getting into the fight. He has such an impactful ult, but it's not really impactful if you get shredded as soon as you take your first step forward into a team fight, right? And so just not having that tank online yet, one of your more impactful ults, in addition to, you know, maybe the Wraith on the other side, typically an excellent pick for dominating a 1v1, shredding someone down, providing fire rate to the team. These players being some of the lower players in Souls is really going to impact how you have to take a fight as the Catgirls.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. I mean, just looking at the top Soul lead in the game, at least for the time being, you're looking at Infernus, you're looking at Lady Geist sitting at 18,000. They're going to have so much extra to work with, allowing them to fight a little bit harder than some of these other players that they're having to face up against. And now it's got to be a bit of a retreat. You can't really overfight now.
Massive grouping here, though.
Yeah.
A little bit of a push. I mean, I don't expect this to... There's not much to fight over right here in the middle of the map, but there's just this chaos being caused under these enclosed corridors. It's like everybody's able to get out with their lives except for Vindicta, who will fall for the side of the Catgirls. But I mean, to be honest, I don't know what they were grouping up for there for anything. There wasn't really any souls, any objectives they were fighting over. They just give up a pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit rough there. Of course, now we're going to be seeing the Naked Catgirls are probably going to go ahead and reset, look to readjust. They still have a Guardian they need to go for, along with 3 Walkers as well. Meanwhile, they've been shredded. All their defenses are down except for that final line. And now, as we do see them starting to make their way up, it looks like they want to press down on Orange to go ahead and maybe look for that Guardian pick, along with Blue right after.
We'll have to see how they want to use their pressure across the rest of the map. You see all 6 players now maybe a little bit further up. This is maybe the first time we've seen Shiv just almost past that halfway point, which is not somewhere where we've seen the Catgirls cross that midfield line for a little bit now. But I mean, I wonder if they're going to try and use that pressure to take mid-boss, or if it's something where, you know, it's a little bit early in the game, they don't necessarily want to risk anything at mid-boss, and instead would rather just farm up, maybe get some of their last items here. I mean, we can flip through some of the builds for the Cabal and just see where they're looking in terms of these final items. Have to imagine some of the 6,300 items being considered here at this stage of the game, and maybe that's what they're waiting on for one of these final pushes.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be the case. And, well, now let's see. Naked Catgirls, at this point, if you were, let's say, a coach in a position where you're looking at your team, Naked Catgirls, being stuck down this many souls, what would you say they need to do at this point? Are they kind of just stuck into this and maybe say, GG, go next, look at the next map to maybe look to find themselves an answer? Or do they go ahead and see if there's something they can do now, even being 20, 30k souls down?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's over by any means.
Okay.
I do think they have to avoid situations like this. Giving up individual picks is what I was going to mention. You cannot be in that situation where you are handing an advantage over to the Cabal even before any of the fight starts. The way you get back into this is punishing an overcommittal potentially by the Cabal, right? You have some of these team fight ultimates. You have a grouping that you can make, but I mean, even for that, I would expect them to be fighting in their base, but we see 5 members, the 5 alive for Naked Catgirls. They were all pushed up in that orange lane. Just maybe playing with fire a little bit in this one. But, I mean, I say that as the entire team walks right past mid-boss, right through the middle of the lane. I thought they were going to pick it up, but they run right over to blue, and they've let Wraith respawn. So even for that first pick, I mean, maybe it's the Cabal. They are being the patient ones. They're waiting for the right opportunity. If you're Catgirls, you have to just hope they allow you an opportunity to punish and overcommit.
Well, now they're just going to go ahead and they're just not necessarily wanting to overdo it. Like you're saying, they're not wanting to overcommit. It's decent. They know that the defenses of Naked Catgirls is well up at this point. We might see them look to try and make an initial push. Of course, Hydration is still just, just farming away, just looking for extra souls.
Yeah, I think it'll be the question of when they want to start pushing up here, because this is one that I'm kind of surprised has lasted this long with this little action, right? We just saw this lead a huge fight win, lead to a 30k soul increase for the Cabal. You thought that they might turn around, buy their items, and walk right back up, continue the pressure. But instead, they've really I mean, they're the ones controlling the pace of the game. There's no question about that. If they don't want to fight, there will be no fight as far as things are concerned right now. And it looks like they don't want to fight. Instead, they were waiting for this mid boss, but this is one where there might be a contestation. You can see the entirety of Catgirl and friends, whether or not they want to step up into this, but it looks like no, they're just going to back off. They just wanted to get that sound cue, see if they could maybe bait Catgirl and friends into a bad spot.
Well, now, as we do get this back underway, we're looking for this mid-boss to be contested. I mean, there is potentiality for a steal as well. I mean, let's just say Dynamo drops down from the middle as the gem descends and ults onto the team, grabs them all close, and his teammate comes through and picks that back off, right? I mean, there's decent positions where we could see the Cabal go ahead and fight that out, win the battle against the boss, and then just have it completely stolen as well.
A little bit of a grouping again, and maybe pose the question. We asked the game, or you asked a great question, how Catgirls can get back into this. But maybe the question is, how does the Cabal end? Like what are they waiting for, do you think, to try and push into one of these lanes? Are they just waiting to find their picks for somebody to misstep on the other side, or is it just they don't feel strong enough yet?
I doubt they don't feel strong enough. I mean, there's still, at this point, the lead has expanded to 40k, just 44k at this point. So, I mean, there can't be a way for them to be feeling overly weak. We're finally seeing one of the Guardians fall. That's much needed. A little late, but better than never. We'll see a read push coming up there on blue as well.
Yeah, you're at least able to say, yo, guys, we got all the Guardians down. Don't worry. No, they can't even say that. The orange one is still standing. I didn't realize they still had one tower left. At least they're able to say that they got a walker on the other side. And that does open one of the flex slots for them, which I think is, I mean, that's a big thing. There's a common saying, if you don't get that first flex slot, you might as well not play the game. But,
oh no, Viscous.
Yeah, Viscous caught out a little bit, trying to make it out. Will find himself in a corridor with Abrams. As I mean, it's just it's both sides playing cat and mouse at this point, waiting for somebody to make a mistake.
I know they definitely are, and well, maybe they're eventually going to go for mid-boss. I do want to see one of these teams go ahead and try and finish mid-boss. It comes down to seeing if the contest comes through. I think that's what could decide this match, or at least this map.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, at this point, I don't know what they want to do here. They're going to look to see if there's a pick to come through. It looks like he's just going to be able to escape decently cleanly. He does get stuck by a trap, but does get away ultimately.
There's a lot of players chasing, though, and Furnace coming around the back, looking to find a little bit of poke, and the Catgirls are completely surrounded by blue players here. Talon now joining the fight, looking for some final picks, and is able to find an assist. Car Battery takes out the first one in Shiv. Yonder finds the second in Viscous, and it's Vindicta now under pressure. Falling is Panay, 3 down for the side of Naked Catgirls, and this might finally be the push opportunity for Cabal.
Yeah, no, they're out. They're gone again. They don't want to overfight it. They're just going to go ahead and get the second pick off there, and we'll see eventually McGinnis fall along with Dynamo. I mean, that's the reset. I mean, there's only one player alive. That's Wraith. Just go for it at this point. I don't know what they're waiting on to at least get the damage, but oh, here we go. This is where they're going to look to end it. They'll go for mid-boss. They'll finish that off. Look to get the gem. No one can contest.
Finally, they have this in their back pocket. And like you said, this is maybe now the time to push. They do have some low respawn timers, right? 4 now alive, but those 2 that they killed towards the end of the fight, still 10+ seconds on Paradox and McGinnis here. Good poke coming through from Talon, though, and Wraith all of a sudden feels a little bit worse defending on that left-hand side. But 4 players grouped up in that orange lane, and have to imagine with this rejuvenation, they're going to feel really comfortable just pushing up, trying to knock down some of these base Guardians.
And they're just going to go ahead and look to pressure those down, get those flex slots open. But, I mean, I would love to see them try and press through, but they're still not committed into this fight. They're not committed into ending this. It looks like a couple of picks comes through. Of course, we do see hydration go fall away there immediately. I mean, we could see them find the reversal into this. They're going to press down on to the Cabal, finding out at least a couple. I don't know if they're going to find themselves a third. I think Ivy falls here.
Shiv finds a reversal. Panay grabs another one. It's a 3-for-1 so far in this fight, but they don't want to push out too far. Don't want to bite off more than they can chew. And I got to tell you, as far as a sieging standpoint goes, that entire sequence, even after the mid boss, right? Even that whole fight, that entire sequence makes me really lose a bit of confidence in Cabal and their ability to siege. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks like they have come right back and proved me wrong. They pick up some base guardians, they pick up another kill onto Catgirl, and now we're at the point that's a 40-second respawn timer that they're going to have a man advantage here in the enemy base.
Yeah, no, we're not getting into this. The fight is really underway. Dynamo in a really rough position. It's just a full-on retreat. No one's overdoing it. They don't want to overfight. They'll give up the shrines for the time being. Couple of players fall. Vindicta, Wraith still out of the server. Of course, there are 4 players that can still contest once these shrines do fall. They're just buying time for the time being.
Owl coming through here, just making space. Actually, a very impressive use of that ultimate from Vegas, but I mean that secures them the shrine. Still one more. No, rather they've taken down both shrines. It's only the first stage patron here, the Amber patron, under attack from the Cabal. And to be honest, they have staggered these deaths so well that it's not really a full-on fight. If you're Catgirls, you want to fight back into this as a full 5-man squad. You want a full combo the enemy team. You can't do that if one of your two of your members are always in the gray screen.
Yeah, I mean, this is about it at this point. They've been able to bring it down to a weakened position for the patron.
Another pick.
There's a big pick. Gosh. Great talent just on top of it. These players falling one after another. They're starting to put the pressure down. Bit of an owl into the spawn. Oh no, Wraith. Just continue to be pressured. Great talent. This is brutal. And as we eventually see it all fall away, this is lit. The Cabal gonna be able to go ahead and take map 1 into their victory.
Game number 1 for the Cabal lasting. I mean, the fact that that game lasted 28 minutes, close to the 30-minute mark, honestly shocking from me. Like, that is a level of patience, and I lost a little bit of confidence there, that there was a little bit of fight back from the Catgirls, and maybe that's something they're holding on to going into game 2. But outside of that one slip up, and I'm not even sure they're calling it a slip up. They're probably like, oh, we had to give them some, you know, and then they turn around and they do the same thing. They take the base guardians. Yeah. And from that point on, at least one person was dead on the enemy team for the entirety from there until the end of the game. They staggered deaths through the end of the game. That was like 3-4 consecutive minutes where they were able to stack those death timers. Just a very impressive showing at the end there from the Cabal. Once they got powerful enough, they just stepped on the gas.
Yeah, no, it's excellently done there by them. Of course, coming into game 2, there's a saying coming from the CS side that I work in generally. You could say that maybe the Catgirls are saving strats for Major, looking to go ahead and trying to bring those out here into map number 2. That'll be coming up here in the next few minutes. Of course, hopefully, they're going to be able to look to maybe find themselves a bit of an upset, because that was a pretty dominant showing there at the end. So the beginning, it was looking fairly consistent. Both these teams were going back and forth. We saw a couple times where the Cabal would pull ahead, and then eventually the Catgirls would be able to drag that right on back to go ahead and tie things up. But of course, it just didn't work out for them to do that in the long run. So coming up into this next map, we've got to see the Catgirls do something absolutely monolithic to be able to pull this one back into favor, to look to possibly send us all the way to a map 3. But I think it is that time. We're looking at the bands looking to come on through. It'll be interesting to see who they get out first, and Bebop is the first one to go.
Now, notably, the Catgirl and friends did select that second pick side of things. So they're going to get the top 2 that they select, just 1, 2 in a pair. And then they also get the last pick in this draft. Benefits of that second side, of course. But only one ban right now, as you mentioned, Bebop coming through. That's what we saw in game number 1, and Lash as well. So just identical bans to what we saw in game number 1. Of course, the top pick in game number 1 was the Shiv, going to the side of Catgirl and friends. This time around, I think the Cabal would be silly not to pick up the Shiv first pick for themselves.
It'll be interesting to see if they do, and we should be seeing it come through here in just a few seconds' time. I mean, this is going to be kind of a trendsetter of what sort of style that the Cabal want to try and play, whether they want to play that long-range aggression or if they want to play up close. And, I mean, for the time being, it's just taking a little bit, but Infernus is going to be that first pick.
Interesting. So, I mean, to be honest, every player that I've talked to, I've asked quite a few, and I think Shiv is consistently the one that comes out on top in the conversation of who do you want on your team. One of the best gods in the game, one of the best heroes in the game, rather, as, you know, someone that can change some of these fights almost just single-handedly. But in a lot of ways, Infernus is very much the same. You can cause a lot of that tick damage. You're healing throughout the fights. You don't want to stand, or the enemy team doesn't want to stand next to you, because you're going to explode midway through the fight, right? If you're timing that ultimate correctly. And so a lot of potential and perhaps a unique matchup, something like a comfort pick on the side of the Cabal. But even more interesting, no pick up of the Shiv on the side of the Catgirl and friends. They do get Ivy, great supportive character, going to bring a lot to your composition. But I mean, the Cabal have got to be really pleased with this. They thought about that first pick. They were a lot, you know, they were like, man, do we give up Shiv? Do we give up a Furnace? Neither. They get to have both.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a great look. This is going to be a really in-your-face map, at least for this point, for the Cabal. Dynamo going to be coming out as well for them. That's going to be great for that AUO healing when it comes down to it. Those two players, they're going to be definitely looking forward to seeing them get saved by Dynamo in the late fights. But now, the Naked Catgirls, they need to have themselves a little bit of range at this point. They need to be able to go ahead and create that space into these fights. And to start out with, I mean, yeah, there we go. Vindicta coming on through. But the question is now, do we see them actually go for a double sniper setup, go for a great talent as well? I mean, that could be telling of what sort of style they want to play.
I mean, this Vindicta, at this point, sort of a signature pick, I think, for Panay has gone back to that all of the matches that we've watched this Catgirls team play in. But continuing down the line of these close-range, in-your-face picks is the Cabal. They grab that Dynamo, as you mentioned, right? That's going to bring a lot of CC, a lot of the ultimate pressure, the healing pressure. So maybe that's your support pick. If you couldn't get Ivy, at least you're able to come away with Dynamo. But then this Mo and Krill was a menace last game. This is the character that Hydration is going to. Once the Lash is banned away from him, he was able to get 2 solo kills in lane against the enemy Dynamo last match. And now you're looking at some of these later picks. Now we're seeing the adaptations start to come through even further. Pocket was up and available for both of these squads in the last game, but it's something that now is gone to from the Catgirls, a very slippery pick, something that can really be a nuisance in disrupting the backline. Potential to bring a lot here to the Catgirl squad.
Yeah, no, definitely is. Of course, now we did see Abrams get pulled out as well. That's going to be very tanky, very in their face. I mean, at least for the time being, this is going to be a case of, well, we're going to be in your face, while the other side's saying, okay, we're going to be completely at range. We got the great talent as well as the Vindicta now. So definitely the Catgirls are just like, okay, guys, let's just go ahead and play far back. Let's just wait for them to come to us, force them into these fights, and at that point we can look at Lady Geist, at Pocket, at Ivy to go ahead and play hard into their faces as well. And yeah, no, this is just a super in-your-face fight at this point from the Cabal. They're just looking to play completely into their front line.
Yeah, this last pick is very interesting, though, for the Cabal, because I think if they had gotten a little bit of range in themselves, if they had been able to pick that Talon, you see a very similar pacing to game number 1, right? You have 4 in-your-face picks, 1 supportive pick, 1 ranged pick, and that's obviously putting characters in the bin. That's, you know, not they can all do more things than that, but when you think of it in its simplest terms, you're playing a little bit, and at least you have a way in to, okay, you're causing a bunch of chaos in the front line. You have this ranged character who's free casting. That's where a lot of your damage is coming from. But now, just with this 1 pick taken away, this different style of draft, style of fight that they're forced into with these last 2 picks, if you combine Dynamo and Kelvin ult, or if you just use either of them, both of them are extraordinarily powerful and have the power to win you auto win a 3v3, a 4v4, even a 2v2, right? You just auto win those fights come late game, and it even allows for some early objectives. These are 2 of the best ultimates in the game you want for contesting and for protecting mid boss, right? You can guarantee that rejuvenation crystal just with the Kelvin dome because nobody can enter it in. And so if they were looking like me, I would expect to not see the patience this time around come through from the Cabal. Instead, I would expect them to be running it down even more aggressively because they don't even need to be necessarily right next to somebody to find a pick. If you trap someone in the Dynamo ult or in the Kelvin ult, they're just gone instantly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how we see Naked Catgirls go ahead and try and counter that. I suppose the name of the game is going to be that they're going to just be really far back into these fights. They don't necessarily want to overdo it. We're going to be looking at Ivy Pocket along with McGinnis and looking to play pretty far up, but of course with those two long-range characters, I think it's just going to be so favorable to go ahead and play decently far into the map, play closer to their spawn than anything, if anything else. So hopefully we can see them look to try and make that work, but I don't know how I feel about this, in all honesty. I mean, these are two very, very different styles of play, and I don't know which one's going to be coming out on top during this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the composition from Catgirls. I do think that they have a lot of strong characters in their own right. I mean, I play my public matches. Vindicta can just carry a game. Like, they can just run away with the game. And that's true for a lot of these characters in those lower level matches. But here at this level, we're thinking about every stage of the composition. Not only the damage that you can put out, but something I'm concerned about is the level of CC on the side of Catgirls and Friends, right? A lot of these characters do not have any of that hard CC. There are some slows, there are some traps, but it's really these two snipers are your biggest thing. You have a pin coming through from Vindicta, you have a trap coming through from Talon. The only other big thing that you have in your arsenal is the wall that can come through from McGinnis. But, you take all of those tools and you compare it on the other side to a Dynamo ult, a Dynamo knockup, a Moen Krill knockup, a Moen Krill combo that keeps you in place. Abrams has two different stuns, can push you around. Kelvin has a slow, he can trap you in the bubble. There's just so much coming from the Cabal. It's going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah, no, there we go once again. It's that time. Let's see who's going to be coming out on top. And I suppose a pause is the first name of the game. Another crash.
Well, only fitting. Well, it had to be, come on now. It had to be a crash.
Yeah, I mean, naturally. We can't get into a game completely cleanly in an alpha without there being an immediate crash from somebody. This time from, we're looking at Lady Geist. I think the Naked Catgirls had the crash during the first one as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe looking at a new computer to play the new Deadlock game, maybe some new specs, get your FPS up, really get that computer firing on all cylinders. No, in all seriousness, obviously some technical difficulties on the side of that player, but we got a chance to see briefly like where those lane matchups were going, and that's going to be another big question here in this one. We talked in game number 1 about how you wanted to have a ranged character in your pairings and a support character in your pairings as well, when in game 1 Cabal had 4 super close range and then 2 outside of that role. And I imagine it'll be the same thing. I would expect to see the Kelvin and the Dynamo paired with one of the more aggressive picks in those middle lanes, and that sure Elton and Furnace paired together and Dynamo and Shiv paired together. Maybe even more interesting than that, though, is what Catgirl and Friends have chosen to do. This Ivy really thrives when they're able to connect to someone, get that healing off, right? Act as a support character. But instead, for now, they've chosen to put Ivy in that solo lane role up against Hydration's Mo and Krill.
That's a very interesting matchup, to be sure. Hopefully, we could see Ivy try and find themselves a little bit they can do. Oh, no. Oh, Jar. What is it this time? Mouse issues.
This is the Cabal. This is the Cabal. So it's not the PC of Naked Catgirls and Friends. This guy, Dynamo, says mouse issue, wire issue, and that means that we get to call we get to call him out for having a wired mouse instead of a wireless mouse. That is what that means.
Man, I still use a wired mouse. I don't want to hear that. Come on now.
I just moved to the wireless world just a couple of days ago, and I can already say I'm a changed person. I really, I mean, I'm just a completely different person. I feel like my hands are moving much better, much more seamlessly. My shots better. I've gone up 200 elo just in the last 24 hours. I mean, what can you say?
Well, here we go. It's that time once again. We're looking at 1-0 here in the finals. It looks like we're underway without too many issues now. So hopefully we'll see this continue on. And at least for the time being, we're looking at Naked Catgirls having a little bit of a Souls lead. Of course, still very early game. Neither side going to be determined off of this. And now let's see it. What's in store for us as we do move forward.
Yeah, my eyes are going to be glued to these side lanes, right? I mean, we see a lot of poke coming through in the dual lanes, but just with each dual lane having a bit of a supportive character, having a little bit of in-lane sustain, I'm not sure those are going to be as volatile. And I say that there's a lot of poke coming down, and Waylex is taken down. Sure, the first blood goes over to Catgirl and friends this time around.
Yeah, able to find themselves some good picks there. I mean, that's 2 first kills to go ahead and get us rolling. And this is a much better look in what we were looking for the side of Naked Catgirls to go ahead and pull things back into their favor. I mean, they've got themselves the sole lead once again. They're looking to try and exploit it a little bit further. They're playing pretty aggressive as well. It's been decent trades back and forth. We did see Pocket fall. Hydration just goes ahead, gets himself out of dodge, not necessarily wanting to overdo it. Can't really blame him on that.
Yeah,
and we're seeing them group up.
Yeah, 3v3 over on this left-hand side. I think it was first started by Catgirl and friends that had a 3-man grouping, so they just take their dual lane from orange and move it over towards that left-hand side. But no kills, able to come out instead, just continuing to trade some poke back and forth. But I mean, I've already been proven wrong. I'm going to continue on my point, though, because I still expect these solo kills to be, if we're going to find any major leads, it's going to come from those 1v1 matchups, right? Ivy finding something on Mo and Krill, Hydration maybe trying to trade something back on the other side. Both of these have one short-range character with a lot of burst and one long-range character who's going to win that poke fight, and I think that is pretty inherently volatile.
Yeah, no, it really can be, but for the time being, we're all tied back up here at 3 minutes. No one has the advantage except for Naked Catgirl and friends, who's back up by K. But, ooh, he gets out dodged just barely. I can't believe Vindicta's alive.
Definitely putting on the juke boots. Poke there, but I mean, already we're seeing a lot of transitions between these characters. Shiv going in and finds the turnaround back onto Waylex, as now it's Talon in a bit of a rough spot, trying to find the way out and will not find safety successfully. Vegas and Kerr able to combine for 2 there in the blue lane.
Yeah, no, able to go ahead, find out those picks, allow the side of the Cabal to put themselves up by K at least for the time being. Vindicta still poking away. We're seeing a little battle out of Lady Geist, not necessarily wanting to overdo it. Dynamo's putting down some good pressure. Well, as they make their way forward, there's Shiv being eliminated out. The Cabal, another pick lost so far. We could see him force the issue, but I think that Pocket might be in a world of hurt if he's not too careful. He gets out of dodge just barely. They look to try and maybe follow it up onto Hydration. And there it is! Lady Geist able to find the finisher. And just like that, they've got control of the lane, and they could look to try and exploit it.
One long-range shot grabs the last hit there. And early on, I mean, this is an impressive adaptation from Catgirl and friends, I think, that they are turning it around from game number 1, right? Game number 1, I didn't feel bad about their laning phase. It was fine. You know, they didn't fall too far behind in any of the scenarios, but they're immediately saying, we don't even want a traditional laning phase. They have been the one to force these 3v3s, 3v2s, try and find unfair engagements in their favor where they have a man advantage. Oh my goodness, that is Shiv damage for you, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit more needed, and he'll find the last hit onto Irie there, the Talon down to the gray screen.
There's no way, yeah.
He will get traded out, though, at the very least. That's maybe the downside of trying to dive that far into the tower, but I mean, this fighting for a lot of what they're doing is being initiated by Catgirls.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're just trying to work off of it, and it's going decently. I mean, for the time being, it's still a very big back and forth. Lady Geist is incredibly low and needs to retreat. We'll be able to successfully. It looks like a little bit of pressure still being looking to be applied. But I think they're going to be forced back by this. They're put into a 2v3. The advantage is still into their favor, but they don't want to overpressure it, and I can't really blame them on that. They know they could get caught out very easily, especially by that Kelvin.
We are seeing a little bit of a dive. The ultimate from Mach Hydration, able to get the last hit onto Catgirl, and that's the volatility we were mentioning. A little bit of solo potential. Grabs Hydration a kill onto the Ivy. Even though Lady Geist rotates, it's still pressure over there on the right-hand side, and maybe pressure gained by Cabal on the rest side of the map. That solo kill, right, having the tower down in the blue side means that they're open up a little bit more if they want to rotate and start to take these fights. In fact, looks like Shiv is chasing down Lady Geist right now as they escape towards the Guardian. But
that's it.
Oh my goodness,
There's no way.
the damage from Shiv. No way to survive. And that's the level that the Cabal are looking at right now. They are just in there.
Yeah, no, they're on top of it now. They've got themselves a little bit of a lead of 4K. The souls at this point still not too farly expanded, but it's starting to grow. See a Guardian falling. Yeah, just like that. They've expanded that lead from 3K to 6K in just a few seconds. And they're looking to pressure down onto the Walker as well. Lady Geist is going back over there to respond. It looks like we might see some rotates come through as well. Yeah, Ivy pocket. Possibly looking to make the long-range run, but it might be too little too late. They will get forced off. Lady Geist is able to do the trick. Meanwhile, a fight between Shiv and Ivy could be looking to progress as well.
Some potential here. I think Shiv has been very active this game. That's something I want to point out because we get to contrast it perhaps to the Shiv from last game. Hold that thought though. Under a little bit of pressure, Catgirl finds the last hit onto Yonder. Dynamo falls down. And you see some of the pressure that can come through when you have those groupings that Catgirls have been trying to force down. They may even get the Guardian here on the orange side as well. Looks like Shiv, a little bit poked down, maybe not willing to full defend this Guardian. So this should be a pickup from the side of the Catgirls. But, I mean, even though he can't defend this one, this is a very large contrast between the Shiv that we're seeing this game on the Cabal and the activity of the Shiv that we saw last game on the side of Catgirl.
Well, now they're getting themselves decently aggressive. It looks like Calvin could get caught out here. Looks like he will be able to escape due to the fact that we do see active player get himself in. Of course, Infernus makes an appearance as well, able to stun but doesn't save his teammate. And for the time being, it's good trades back and forth. Of course, the Catgirls coming out on top, at least for the time being. Only one player down versus their two. Ooh, great talent! It's close, but Hydration falls. But eventually, so does great talent. Oh, dear God.
The health, the healing coming through right as you're taking damage. And the shotgun's just not fast enough to get that trade. So Mo and Krill drops at the same time Talon gets traded out. But once again, macro play to the advantage of Cabal. They're able to take down yet another Guardian. They're able to trap trap Vindicta here at the very end of things. But looks like that, oh my goodness, how is that speed come through? You get out from behind and Kelvin's trying to chase it down, but just does not have the damage, doesn't have it in the tank, and Vindicta somehow able to survive and turn it around with the long-range snipe last hit, and Vegas gets punished.
Yeah, no, absolutely punished by that. Of course, we do see the Catgirls. Actually, they pulled ahead of the Souls again. They've been able to go ahead and at least gain themselves a 2K lead. I mean, just like that, the Cabal, they're feeling the pressure at this point. Catgirls are putting up a very good performance into this. It looks like we could see another Guardian fall here in just a second. Infernus goes to try and save it.
We'll do so for the time being.
There it is. That's it.
Yeah. Not able to fully do it when you have a ranged character like that. Hard to fully defend, but I mean, this chase down might be a punish as just taking that tick damage stuck underneath the bridge, and an LOL thrown out there from the Infernus player on the Cabal. Able to at least trade one for the tower going down, but still, I mean, even though the Souls lead is pretty even, it's even a little bit in favor of Catgirls, this map pressure is definitely feeling in favor of the Cabal.
Yeah, no, they've been able to go ahead and find themselves a bit of an advantage. Of course, if we could see AP, that would be fantastic to see where things are starting to stand a little bit further. But, as we can't. It just looks like we'll see this starting to be played out patiently once again. I think we're going to see that patient style of Deadlock looking to try and maybe find the dominance again. That's where the Cabal were really able to thrive there previously.
right, in that mid-game style. And we have seen that 10-minute mark broached, right? So that Spirit Urn's going to spawn, mid-boss is going to be on the map, and maybe this is the point where they're looking for some fights. Abrams slowed down, and Shiv, maybe, I thought he was going to be backed up, but he's actually the one going in. So 4 members here on the left-hand side. His team joins him, though. Slowed down. Kelvin taken down as Irie turns it around, is able to trade 1 for 1. Sniper coming through, a second shot from Panay takes another one down, and a 2 for 1 trade. Shiv is hiding in the corner here, but I don't know that he'll be able to stay alive. Maybe instead of the run from him. Jur, what a crazy turnaround. Jur looking for the final bit of damage, and he won't find it, but an amazing display of skill there. Ultimately, it's Catgirl and friends coming out on top.
Oh, that was such a scary little moment there. I thought for a second there we're going to see Great Talent fall as well. Instead, the Amber Walker starts to get pressured down. Great Talent applying that. Just going to go ahead, play into the retreat. Doesn't necessarily want to overfight. And I mean, that was a big fight for the side of Catgirls to come out on top on, to go ahead and at least keep the soul difference at a minimum. And unfortunately, another pause, another crash coming from Panay.
Vindicta falls out of the game once again. You got to think with the pressure that the PC is feeling from all these snipes coming through, there's only so much skill that the PC is able to process, right, on that CPU. And so gonna force the reset. This is why they've been pressure picking this Vindicta, I have to say, because even in round 2 in game 1, now here again in game number 2, they are top 3 picking this Vindicta. And after Panay came away as the MVP in round number 2, I really can't blame them. I mean, these snipes, maybe not as impactful in game number 1, maybe struggle to play the game, you know, when you have so much pressure that you're playing into. But I think a lot of the Catgirls' success, in addition to these groupings, the forced odd man skirmishes, some of these snipes coming through are downright impressive.
Oh yeah, no, they really are. That one snipe onto who was it? Oh shoot, I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh,
Calvin on the left side, the long-range one onto Vegas. Yeah.
It was absolutely enormous. Just a quick 180 to find it to close that player out. Well, I mean, it leaves us in this position. We could be looking at the side of Catgirls to really put down a little bit more pressure. They've been able to kill out one Walker here, while the side of the Cabal just haven't been able to get to it just yet. I mean, it's just good pressure all around, keeping things nice and even. Of course, the Cabal, they've started to gain ahead in souls once again. They're up by 4K. But I think this is just going to be played out in the backlines once again. I mean, we're going to be looking to see where Catgirls decide to put on the pressure and see how it's responded to by the Cabal. I mean, that's how these fights have gone down each and every time. And over the past couple, I mean, Vindicta's been such a pivotal moment and pivotal player to pull things back.
Yeah, I mean, my surprise maybe is the Solern in this game just has not really been, like, nobody even wants to fight over it at all at the moment. Maybe it's Dynamo picking up, no, he's just passing over, and this will be a huge fight start. He grabs 2 with the ultimate, and it looks like they'll be able to trade out Ivy early on. That healing comes through, at least slows things down, but Jur able to find that last hit. Now chasing down a couple more members here. The gap closed from Shiv is so powerful, and he grabs 2 in that one. And now the entirety of the Cabal heading towards that orange lane, maybe looking for another Walker.
Yeah, no, they could be able to go ahead and find out the second one to give themselves quite a bit of extra souls, along with getting themselves into a good position with AP. Yeah, it's just going to fall immediately. Owl does come through to try and get off a little bit of poke damage, but I don't think it's going to be able to net enough. Meanwhile, we do see Lady Geist putting down pressure along with Pocket, looking to try and pressure down Walker of their own. I mean, if they can find out that could start to even things out in a really good way. But for the time being, they're just not able to get to it. There it is. Able to finish it off eventually. I mean, this keeps them in the running. They're just down by a K again. And just like that, actually, they've gained the advantage, up by 2.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would call the game effectively even, right? You have a couple individual leads, notably the Kelvin and the Dynamo, pretty far down in comparison to the rest of the team on the side of the Cabal. And on the other side, you have the Talon a little bit farther down and the McGinnis a little bit farther down. But
yeah,
to be honest, I think you have the leads on the players who want them. I would rather have my Mo and Krill at 16,000, right? Get him farther ahead in his build. Get the Vindicta a little bit farther ahead in their build, making sure they're the ones with the primary damage output. So they're farming, paying a little bit more mind towards where that farm is coming from. But importantly, looking at map pressure, it's also pretty even, right? Earlier on, we saw the gold lead favoring Catgirls, but the map pressure was very in favor of the Cabal. They had done damage, taken out all the walkers, done damage to a couple, or taken out all the guardians rather, done damage to a couple of the walkers. At this point, though, 2 walkers down for either side. You can kind of have the freedom to push any lane you want. I would say the pressure is in the hands of either squad now. The question is, where do either of these teams want to force a fight? It's actually going to be right here onto the Mo and Krill, taking out a little bit low. It's a full-on engagement just over a jungle camp.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not going to pan out for the Cabal there initially, nor for the side of Naked Catgirls. They lose 2. Of course, Mo and Krill did eventually fall. We do see them trying to put down a little bit more, but I don't think they'll overpress too much here.
Whoa.
Ooh. Naked along with the pocket. Falling there. That's a bit brutal. And we're going to see the pressure onto the base Guardians. Looking to get off at least some initial damage there.
And not falling too fast. You can see maybe the hesitancy there. I'm not sure they had a full minion wave to work with, but at this point, they're the ones being chased down. Looks like things will slow down, so they'll be able to get away with their lives. They do use that time to take another walker away, though. So the Cabal came away. I think they killed 4 there in that engagement, and that's going to be a 10,000 soul lead. So they're able to come away with at least something, take down another walker. But still, I mean, this is not a soul lead I feel super comfortable with just dominating a fight or starting a mid boss. They're going to have to continue to do a lot more and treat this team with, the amount of damage that can come out in an instant is very high from either side.
Yeah, no, it really is. And so one thing I want to note really quickly, look at Kelvin along with Dynamo. They're camping the soul urn. But Ivy has none of it, man. He's just waited.
Wait, you're right. Ivy's just farming it up. Hasn't even gone towards the thing.
He knows. He's like, there's going to be 2 here. He's waiting for his teammates to back him up for this fight. He knows that this is going to be a heavy fight as well that could determine things in terms of soul count. It could turn things around all the way. And this is going to be a heavy fight. Look at this. It looks like this is going to be nearly full team out of both these squads. Both of them reading into this. Ivy gets caught. There's the ult, but the souls have gone off. Of course, we do see Kelvin go ahead and activate his ult. It's not going to be able to net anything, though. And they retreat on back there immediately, and just like that, the Catgirls, they brought themselves back into this, just down by 4k souls, and now they're going to look to see if there's an extra elimination they can find off the back of this.
They grab the soul urn. Can they grab the fight as well? All 6 players here from both sides, and it's the Cabal who strike first blood. Active player in the Abrams takes down Naked, and a little bit more damage as Yonder finds one. Vegas finds a third, and it's all of a sudden 3 to the gray screen. 30-second death timers here for the members of Naked Catgirls and Friends. Lady Geist trying to stay alive. Penne able to at least trade one. Pocket falls down. Almost all 6 off the map. But I mean, I'll tell you what, you'll take 5 for 6. That's going to be a mid-boss opening.
Yeah, no, they're going to be able to go ahead and look to exploit this. This is where they could be looking to try and end it, of course. I mean, just looking to try and get this rejuve off to allow themselves to maybe make a push off it, find at least a couple of base guardians. That'll be the name of the game. It doesn't look like a contest will come through. Can't really blame Naked Catgirls for that. They were just too far in the respawns to maybe look for a steal.
Yeah,
but for the time being, they're just going to flex back. They don't want to overfight that. They know that things could hang in the balance really quickly. Last time we saw Cabal get the rejuve, they went ahead and looked to play for the fight, and they lost 3 there in the first map.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and now you're in maybe a similar spot to where you were in that first map. It's not as much with the souls, right? I mean, around the 20-minute mark in game number 1, I think it was a 30 to 40,000 soul lead. in favor of the Cabal. So, you know, not as far down there, but the entirety of the Cabal having this Rejuvenator buff outside of Dynamo, that's going to make sure that you have, right, one, empowered minion waves, so you get a little bit of benefits on the push here, but two, you're going to have lower respawn timers, so you can be a little bit more aggressive here, as it looks like they're taking advantage of it. They are gearing up to start a fight, push down one of these lanes, either blue or orange, as once again, all 6 players, both sides, here grouped up, waiting for somebody to find the engage.
Yeah, no, they're looking to see where this can come out of. Of course, a little bit of damage being poked at back and forth. No one's really been able to find something to say, okay, we need to focus on this player. So for the time being, it looks like instead, Cabal are just going to opt to go and say, hey, let's take out this Walker. Let's just try and clear these lanes, give ourselves a bit of a boost. As they do just that, gaining themselves a little bit of extra soul. Catgirls, they're starting to fall dangerously behind. Ooh, and Ivy, you're about to get caught here.
Little bit of pressure, but the teams are split at this point. Only a couple members on this side. Abrams falling low. He's gonna have to pull up a miracle if he wants to turn this one around, and he just does not have enough in the tank. Doesn't have the support from his team. Meanwhile, on the other side, his team is doing a little bit of split pushing, trying to take down some of these base guardians and maybe find a couple of kills on their own. Instead, another trade, Hydration, now falling down. Catgirls are defending their base right here, but it's still trying to be turned around. Cabal are fighting back, and Benet falls down. Jur finds another. His pocket falls. Kelvin so low, able to just barely survive, but they are not done on this push.
No, they're not done with it just yet. Ivy in a very rough position, about to lose his life as well. We'll see the side of making Catgirls put into a very brittle position in terms of being able to hold this. They're down by a couple of thousand souls, to say the least, but I mean, they've been able to put up some decent pressure. Chev, along with Kelvin, decently low. I don't think they'll want to overfight that. Certainly Molten Krill does. Hydration just jumping onto the first shrine, finds it immediately. We'll see an owl come out, looking to see if there's damage that can go down to maybe find a pick. But I think that's going to be the disengagement.
They are starting to back off. It looks like you're right. I think all of the members of the Cabal, no real desire to fight. They got what they were looking for. Not only did they knock down a couple of those base guardians on the right-hand side of the map, but they also unlocked that last flex slot by killing that shrine in the base on the right-hand side. So now you are looking to finish out your builds. Already, like Molten Krill, you can see has one of those level 4 items. I believe that's the leech coming through. Right, just trying to make sure that he can survive. So very powerful, I expect Hydration to be. And this is once again the time to go back and farm. While they've been pushing, not only have they been stealing the enemy jungle, but they haven't gotten a chance to go back to their jungle. They're doing the soul learn. They're clearing out their jungle. And sure enough, soul lead exploding a little bit, right? Out to about 15,000. It'll be even more after they capture this soul urn, as they start now 20,000, a little bit more. But gotta make sure they don't give up too much in the process. Kelvin under some pressure here on the right-hand side, and Vegas unfortunately gives up a pick.
Yeah, no, at least a good low pick to go ahead and get us rolling, of course. I didn't even realize there was a Guardian still in the works here. We will see shit fall as well. So, hey, I mean, right now, we're seeing the side of Catgirls trying to crawl their way back into this, and they could be able to do it as well. Ivy going ahead, putting the pressure onto the Walker along with Lady Geist. Now, as they just put it down, I mean, they should be able to shred this thing to pieces here, and yeah, there it is.
Find the
They're
objective.
at least limiting this. The damage is so substantial.
Look at the other side, though. Look at the base, because Abrams and Molten Krill are just happy to be pushing this one down. Looks like they were able to finish off the base guardian there, so now only half of the remaining base guardians on that left side of the map. So playing a little bit of macro across the map. You know, they lost a couple of players. They found their opportunity. They knew that they didn't want to take an uneven fight after that. So, I mean, honestly, props to Cabal for making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah. And alrighty, well, I mean, this has gone decent. Like, they've been able to go ahead and limit this down. At least the damages is so substantial for either side. We do see Hydration still just poking away, not necessarily wanting to overdo it. His teammates have joined him. It does seem like we're seeing Naked Catgirls getting prepared for this fight over on blue. It seems, no, they back off of it. I thought maybe they might try and go for a little bit of something.
Yeah, this in game number 1 was where we saw the game sort of stagnate. In fact, I think it was a little bit earlier than this that we started to see the Cabal just really play the waiting game, wait for somebody to step into the wrong position, see if they could find any picks, but also remember how fast that game ended. That was a 28-minute game, and it all sort of stemmed just from one fight 3 minutes before the end that just led into staggered deaths, led into the ultimate end of the game. And I expect Cabal to do much the same if they're going to try and win the same way. Catgirls have to be thinking how they want to counter that sort of style of play, and I think it's very similar to game number 1. You are trying to find picks of your own. You are trying to find opportunities where you are the one in control. You maybe catch a member out. You maybe have a big team fight ult. The difference is they don't have the dynamo this time. They don't have the big team fight ult necessarily, but they do have the 2 snipers.
Yeah,
and when you're thinking about the 2 snipers, the different sight lines on the map, I mean, one raw pick, one misstep from Shiv, from Mo and Crow, you've seen how aggressive these players can be. That's, I think, why they're being so careful. Just, I mean, their heads can be taken off from across the map.
Well, now we're going to see Shiv go ahead and activate a little bit. Gets tagged down. He might have been a bit over-aggressive there, just stunned out of his mind. He's incredibly low at this point. Dynamo goes ahead and ults up as well. We do see Calvin jump in as well with the ball. It doesn't work out in the long run, though. We will see the initial fall. Still, the fight seems to continue. And it looks like we're going to be seeing this Cabal come out on top. We've seen 2 fall away. Shiv did ultimately fall. We're looking at Vindicta still trying to maybe salvage this. Gets a bit aggressive with it, though. Loses it due to it. And Ivy just caught out.
Yeah, the entirety of the team, there's just too much damage coming through from Cabal. And this might be, I mean, it'll definitely be the mid-boss. The question is, are they dead long enough to continue a push into the base for this one? Because you have the entirety of the team here. Only member not alive is Shiv, and he actually has the lowest respawn timer out of everyone on the map, so he can just hop on a zip line, making sure that he's joining his team. McGinnis actually, I don't know if this is the best contestation from Naked here, as he gets deleted in front of 4 members of the enemy team.
I mean,
that makes... Yeah,
I'll say one thing. I'll say one thing. I love the attempt. It's something. It is something to work with. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work, I suppose. So I suppose it was a failed attempt. But regardless, we're going to see Vindicta caught on outs, and that's another pick to come on through. That's 2 players falling. That's going to be them going ahead and looking to focus down the Patreon after finding maybe a kill onto Pocket. Well, it looks like he'll be able to survive for a little bit longer. I doubt he's got too much more life in him. As the shrine falls, the patron now exposed. We should be looking at the Cabal to finish this here in just a moment's time as they go ahead and break the initial phase and to get into the second.
They delay the death timers. They are once again working on the same phase. Pocket sent to the grave, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. They're just staggering the death timers and dumping all the damage they can into the patron. And a clean 2-0 at the end of the day. Dominant performance coming out from Cabal. They'll be the winners of your first ever Downtown Showdown tournament.
Yeah, absolutely excellently done by the Cabal. It was a masterclass. The Naked Catgirls just couldn't get things going, unfortunately. I mean, that's the way it goes there in the initial events. I mean, definitely we saw some absolute dominance coming out from players like Jur, Hydration. Saw some great stuff coming out of Colmat as well. And we just saw Naked Catgirls just not be able to keep up.